There's nothing quite like the legends of the sea and its amazing stories. Lost civilizations, legendary monsters, whirlpools that seem like gateways to another world, ghost ships, and so much more. What happened with the Mary Celeste is more than just a legend or a fairy tale. It's a true story about an American ship that was found adrift in the ocean with no one on board. The captain and the crew vanished without a trace, and no one ever saw them again, leaving behind a mystery even stranger than myths and fairy tales. In this episode, we're going to talk about the mystery of the Mary Celeste. Before we get started, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you get our videos as soon as they come out. On November 7th, 1872, the cargo ship Mary Celeste set sail from the port of New York headed for Genoa, Italy. On board were Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, along with a crew of 8. The ship was carrying about 1,700 barrels of concentrated alcohol, and less than a month later, on December 4th, 1872, during the journey of the Canadian ship De Gracia, its captain, David Morehouse, spotted the ship Hema out in the North Atlantic waters. When he took a closer look, he recognized the Mary Celeste, which had left New York about 8 days before him and was supposed to have reached its destination by now. Morehouse was puzzled that the ship wasn't showing any signs of life or movement at all, so he decided to change course and head towards it. He ordered 3 crew members to go aboard, and when they did, they were in for a surprise. The cargo is just as it is, and the ship isn't overloaded. The food and drink are enough for about 6 months, but there's not a single soul on the ship. The most important thing that was missing, besides the people of course, was that there wasn't a lifeboat. There was no sign of a fire on the ship, no signs of violence or a battle, nothing at all. More importantly, the ship itself wasn't damaged enough to prevent it from sailing and reaching its destination. Everyone on board abandoned ship without even grabbing their personal belongings. Keep in mind that the captain, Briggs, was an experienced leader with around 18 years of sailing under his belt. That's not counting the crew on the ship, which is all experienced sailors. So we're not talking about a team of amateurs. After boarding the ship, Moore noticed that most of the paperwork was missing along with the captain's tools, but the ship's log was there. That's the log where the captain records everything related to the journey, and the last entry was at 8 a.m. on November 25th. About 9 days ago, the ship Mary Celeste was found near Santa Maria, one of the southern islands in the Azores, right in the middle of the Atlantic. Since the ship's log is recorded almost hourly, whatever happened to the Mary Celeste and its crew must have taken place during those 9 days. At the time when the Mary Celeste was found, it had drifted about 750 kilometers off its original course. Since then, there's been no sign of the crew or the captain. What happened on that ship? Why did the crew abandon it? And how come they never showed up again? These questions were on everyone's mind and made headlines in the newspapers back then. Before we dive into the events that happened later on the ship and try to uncover the truth about what went down, let's take a quick look at its strange, or as some call it, cursed history. The whole story of the ship is filled with odd and sometimes inexplicable events. This ship's first journey was back in 1861, which is 11 years before that mysterious incident. At the time, the ship was owned by a Canadian and registered under the name Amazon. It was supposed to sail from Nova Scotia to London, but the crazy thing is that its very first trip got postponed because the captain fell ill and passed away as a result. So the first captain didn't even get a chance to take the ship out on the water. With the new captain, the ship set sail in the Atlantic, but then it had an accident when it hit some fishing gear near Eastport, USA. After that, it had another incident when it collided with a ship in the English Channel. After years of struggle for its owners and those working on it, the ship drifted to a beach after a new storm in October 1867. Because of the severe damage it had sustained, its owners left it as it was, having lost all hope. It changed hands several times until it finally ended up with an American. It was repaired and renamed the Mary Celeste, with Captain Benjamin Briggs becoming its captain and one of its investors. After checking out the Mary Celeste and finding it couldn't answer any questions about the crew's disappearance, Morehouse decided to take the ship with him to Gibraltar, which is about 1,100 kilometers from where he found it. According to the law, anyone who helps rescue or retrieve someone else's ship or cargo is entitled to a reward based on the value of the cargo and the property involved. When they reached Gibraltar, the authorities seized the ship, and a hearing was held in court to look into what happened and investigate the situation to decide on Morehouse's reward. At first, the court was suspicious that something was off and thought the captain's disappearance along with his family and the ship's helm might be linked to a crime. On the ship's deck, they found some red stains, and there were also stains on the captain's sword that could possibly be blood. The prosecutor suggested at the time that the crew might have been drunk and killed Brex and his family, then tossed them into the water before escaping in a lifeboat. However, the investigation showed that those red stains weren't blood at all, and nothing was stolen from the captain or his family's belongings. Then another theory was brought up, suggesting that pirates boarded the ship and killed everyone on it. But just like the first claim, there's no evidence of any violence, not to mention the cargo and food were untouched. Amid all these theories, there was a timid suggestion, pointing fingers at Morehouse and his crew. He might be the one who boarded the ship with his crew, killed everyone on it, got rid of the crime supporters, and made up the story they told people to get the reward for recovering the ship. Even though the prosecution didn't officially explain it, it still made waves during the hearings. After 3 months of those sessions, the ship was released, and Morehouse and his team were given around $8,000, which is about $160,000 today. Even though the ship was released and no official charges have been made against anyone, the mystery surrounding the Mary Celeste is still unanswered, and no one knows what really happened. In the years that followed the disappearance of the ship's crew, the story echoed around the world. Like most tales, as time passed and it was retold, it picked up a few extra details and some embellishments to make it more exciting. In 1883, an American newspaper published a completely false story about the Mary Celeste incident. She said that the ship was found in great condition, with the cooking fires still glowing and food laid out on the table. The last recorded date on the ship was just 1 hour before it was discovered. Of course, all of this was meant to make the story even more mysterious and spark readers' imaginations about what might have happened. The year after that story came out, the English writer Conan Doyle wrote a short story based on the incident of the Mary Celeste. Conan Doyle is the same guy who later created the Sherlock Holmes stories. Even though the story was mainly based on a fictional premise and dramatic plot, just like the American newspaper story, it captured readers' interest, and some of its events were taken as real. All the fuss and speculation make it tough to come up with a logical explanation for what really happened on the Mary Celeste. Even though there have been some reasonable theories trying to crack the mystery, most people still aren't buying it, and lean more towards the idea of supernatural causes. That's totally understandable, especially since despite all the efforts to figure it out, after more than 150 years, there's still no 100% certainty about what actually went down. Just like the secrets of the ocean and its lost treasures, the mystery of her disappearance remains unsolved, known only to God. So today, we talked about the mystery of the Mary Celeste. What do you want us to discuss in the upcoming videos? Let us know in the comments. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like and share. For those watching us for the first time, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you get our videos as soon as they drop. See you in the next episode.